Good afternoon, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Hopefully, I'm gonna provide a situation update. Thank you for joining me. God bless each and every one of you. Let's just jump right in, folks. There's plenty of things to talk about. Ron DeSantis. Once again leading in the state of Florida, making sure that other governors around the country are taking notes on how to actually govern in a state such as Florida, or a red state at least, and how to make sure that you are doing what the people have asked you to do to make sure you are protecting their freedoms, and ensuring that government isn't overstepping in, and ignoring the rule of law. And that's what Governor DeSantis did today, going after the Soros-backed DA here in the state of Florida. What a wonderful press conference this was. That Big Ron came out and sacked this dude and said, "You're no longer going to be a DA because you refuse to uphold the rule of law." What a fantastic moment for Ron DeSantis. So what we have here is Soros-backed DAs that are across the country: San Francisco, LA, New York, and Austin, Houston, all these major cities. He just named a major city and they're in there. This is what Soros has done. He decided, instead of buying expensive politicians, it's easier to buy these DA races because they're cheaper to buy. And he's installed these individuals who refuse to uphold the rule of law and to create chaos within the communities that criminals are unleashed on, where they're able to get out on the very same day, where the DA will refuse to actually prosecute any discharges that are brought to these people because of injustice, or racial injustice, or social justice, right? Economical justice, environmental justice, whatever they want to call it. It's all commie and Marxist ideology, and Soros is all for that as he continues to try to destroy the country from within. And Big Ron over here in Florida says we're not doing that in the state of Florida. So let's look at the story from the GP. Says DeSantis depends suspense. Lawless Soros-backed state attorney Andrew Warren DeSantis had taken a proactive stance to protect citizens of Florida from rogue prosecutors who are picking and choosing which laws to enforce, often openly doing so in the name of social justice. Late to storm morning with numerous law enforcement representatives, including the well-known Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd, Governor DeSantis announced effective immediately the suspension of State Attorney Andrew Warren of the Florida 13th Judicial District after the lawlessness that has been documented throughout many major cities across the U.S. over the last couple of years, including by the Gateway pundit Ron DeSantis, took the initiative earlier this year of asking staff to ensure it would not happen in the state of Florida. They were tasked with speaking with law enforcement and line prosecutors throughout the state. According to DeSantis, it all led back to the 13th Judicial Circuit in Hillsborough County, where law enforcement has been frustrated by criminals being let go, and crimes not being prosecuted. This anticipated. We've seen this across the country over the last few years. Individual prosecutors take it upon themselves to determine which laws they like, and will enforce, and which laws they don't like, and won't enforce. The results of this in cities like LA and San Francisco have been cast or catastrophic. You can go into a store in San Francisco and steal a certain amount of merchandise and by definition will not be prosecuted. DeSantis continued. Those who say this represents social justice, look at San Francisco. They had to recall the prosecutor who was funded by people like George Soros, saying he's not going to prosecute. They did a recall election and he was recalled, even a very liberal jurisdiction. But the places that voted to keep him in were affluent communities who were not bearing the brunt of the policies. The places that voted to recall him were the working class communities because they bear the burden of the increments and refusal to enforce the law. In June of 2021, State Attorney Warren signed a letter said he would not enforce a prohibition on any sex change operations for minors, according to DeSantis. Warner said that it doesn't matter what the legislature does in the state of Florida. He's going to exercise a veto over that. He also insinuated policies of priests' presumptive non-enforcement that is not consistent with the role of prosecutor. You can exercise discretion individual case, but his discretion has to be individualized and a case-specific. Most recently, after Dobbs, he signed a letter saying he would not enforce any laws relating to the protection to right of life in the state of Florida. Mind you, we have prohibitions on third trimester abortions for a long time. We have prohibitions on partial birth abortion for a long time. And then most recently, the legislature enacted I-sign protections for unborn babies at 3.5 months when they are aborted, as typically done through a dismemberment procedure, which is really inhumane. This seems to be a stern rebuke of the lawless practice of prosecutors that have surged over the last several years, in a message from DeSantis administration that this type of lawlessness will not be tolerated in the Sunshine State. Good riddance. We don't need prosecutors, like I used to live in Tampa in the Tampa area. And we don't need any more. We don't need any more crime in that area. And somebody like that individual who's going to allow, because there's a lot of crazies in Tampa, there's a lot of affluent areas in Tampa, and I'm sure there's a lot of those types of parents who believe their kids need sex changes at like 3 and 4 years old, and doctors would be willing to perform that. Those doctors need to be punished, lose their license, sent to jail under. Parents need to be investigated into child abuse into those cases, and this prosecutor probably would have not gone along with something like that. So kudos to Governor DeSantis doing the right thing, and of course Fox News won't let you come on and talk about anything about George Soros related because it's anti-Semitic or whatever they want to claim. Absolutely BS. This dude is out to try to destroy this nation. And what sorts of laws might be an issue? You would think that there would be a list of statutes broken by Trump? A long list of statutes? Right. Georgia has a variety of statutes related to certain crimes that may be implicated by the conduct under investigation, as well as broad anti-racketeering law that has drawn some attention. That doesn't state a specific legal statute, okay. But then you get this: what has Willis's office been up to? Prosecutors in Willis's office have been conducting a criminal investigation since early last year? That originated with a call between Trump and Georgia Secretary of State. Okay. So initially the call was going to send Trump to jail. That never happened. The call ended with reference Berger saying, "Okay, thank you, Mr. President, speak to you soon." Then there was little other way of public observable investigative activity until this past May, when a judge approved a request by the office to convene a special grand jury. The grand jury has thus far found nothing in terms of evidence that shows Trump committed a specific crime. What they subpoena, lawyers and attorneys working for Trump and people around Trump to try to find something. They have not found a specific crime that Trump committed because he went through numerous attorneys, Eastman, Giuliani, other attorneys. He had a team of lawyers need a legal team, his legal team, according to this article. In recent weeks, the office subpoenaed an array of Trump-adjacent figures, including lawyers, John Eastman, and Rudy Giuliani, who were reportedly integral to the former president's elaborate effort to fight results. Lindsey Graham. Okay. So, see, and then a representative who worked with Jody Hice, who reportedly worked with Trump's team to prevent OK. Unfortunately for Democrats, there are legal avenues to Trump trying to fight or battle through the courts 2 years ago, and Democrats did and tried to do the same types of things. Maybe not the exact same types of things, but they tried and failed in 2016. They even had a public service announcement from Hollywood celebrities, urging officials to do the same thing Trump urged officials to do. The office also identified 16 Republicans who served as Trump's alternate officials in states as possible targets of the probe early this week. However, a judge criticized District Attorney Willis's decision to host a fundraiser for the opponents of one of those officials and one of the Republican officials who worked for Trump. So it's like they're literally going after the direct political rivals utilizing the state. And you saw that with the Steele dossier. And with the Mueller probe, they went after their direct political rivals, and they're the authoritarians that they claimed Trump is. Although it's interesting. Trump's the only tyrant in authoritarian the history of mankind, who doesn't have control of his intelligence agencies, who doesn't have control of all of media, who doesn't have control of industries like Hollywood music industry. Pretty much. Corporations out there are not siding with Trump. So it's like, what kind of authoritarian tyrant is this man? It seems that he's being persecuted, or it seems that he's the victim of an entire political establishment and system. You really look at it from like what's taking place. The following. Hunter, has criminal-like numerous crimes within his emails, 150 financial transactions deemed very suspicious by banks, voicemails, pictures, videos. I mean, you can look, he's in one video allegedly weighing illegal narcotics, and brandishing firearms, which you can't do if you have a criminal record. Or if you're engaged in criminality, and you shouldn't ever actually brandish a firearm, and I'm a huge supporter of the Second Amendment, shouldn't just brandish in a photo? Okay. So that's not, responsible ownership. But see again, Democrats, they do is pontificate and preach and condemn and judge. Meanwhile, you have hundreds of millions of dollars from business deals with corporations serving as a front for, foreign intelligence services. New York Post broke that story 2 years ago, We weren't allowed to hear about it because Twitter suppressed and social media algorithms everywhere suppressed discussion of it. Okay. You don't really like there are legal statutes, we can go into. Rudy Giuliani has a long list that Hunter broke. It's right there within his emails. And within the money flow, and the business, you can actually see. You could read emails, and courses in their emails correspond with business transactions. It's not very difficult. He's being investigated right now by the United States government. If he was a Trump Republican, he would have already been in prison. It's not difficult. You have a money flow, you have emails, your photos, you have videos. I mean, you have a voicemail from Joe saying, okay, you're in the clear, I read the New York Times article, not difficult. Okay, you have emails, also asking Hunter for help influence on how we can use his influence on the company's behalf. That Hunter gets 10% of his earnings, through shady business deals to the big man, which is Joe. It's not difficult to see numerous crimes, it is a crime, to have business deals to deal with foreign operatives, and promise access to the United States government, which you've seen in the New York Post. And the New York Post and Daily Mail have explained that those emails are basically that they're selling these people, whether it's Joe or Hunter, or James or whatever, that you can look at the New York Post article as selling out the country. It's not my opinion, it's actually been in the emails. So you can read his own emails and you can see the criminal activity with Clinton on top secret intelligence on private servers. It's a crime. You can't transfer top secret intelligence on the private service just like you can't promise beneficial treatment in a meeting with the vice president. In order to get business deals and hundreds of millions of dollars. You can't have classified data transferred onto top secret intelligence transfer onto servers running outside the United States government. You can't do that, impossible. Not possible. It is a crime to do so. Under 18. U.S. Code 371, you don't even need intent. Okay. And I want to Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump 2024. Okay, you can't do those things. If you read any article about Georgia and the New York probe is basically ended. Okay, the DA is basically ended the probe into Trump. And so if you look at what's taking place in Georgia, for example, and it's the same thing is taking place. What took place in New York, the New York probe, the Georgia probe, these are public relations, stunts, by media and the Democratic establishment and never Trump airs. Apparently in Georgia. They don't have anything on Trump. If they did, he would have been in prison already. My God. It's not that difficult. It's not rocket science. Trump would have been in prison already had he committed a crime. Clinton was not imprisoned, was not indicted, because she did commit crimes. However, James Comey and all of media, but mainly James Comey and Strzok, who said we'll stop Trump in a text message. McCabe, who was fired also like they all were. Sided with the Democratic Party. Yes, you know what? Top secret intelligence on servers running outside the United States government. What country would even allow that? Countries around the world intelligence agents are laughing? Even Michael Hayden, President Obama's top one intelligence chief, said he would lose respect for countries if they didn't already obtain Clinton's information. Again, I want to Hillary Clinton Donald Trump 2024. We need that because I want to see every left-leaning pundit say vote for Hillary. You other reasons do I think she'd be a million times better than Joe. But I also obviously think Trump would win a million times and I voted for Trump. But my point is there are no crimes Trump committed, there are crimes Democrats committed. What they do is they investigate that find nothing or no intent. And then that they investigate with Trump, it's where I am walls are closing and the walls are closing, it was never closing. And then it just fizzles out. But the image is that he's crime is rampant criminality gets away with, and the problem is he doesn't commit crimes. He goes through his attorneys, and when he does his crime is not caring about wonderful, morally superior, highly educated, liberal sensibilities. That's his crime. He didn't commit. Trump does not commit crimes. And if he did, the system, the establishment would definitely indict him. Democrats do commit crimes, but they get away with them. Up until the Durham probe, Trump Republicans taking over the House and Senate, there will be impeachment of Biden numerous times, probably. And so the pendulum is shifting. But up until now, Democrats have gotten away with crimes because they had James Comey, or they have prosecutors, or they have social media algorithms preventing any discussion of what's going on. And you have activists who are now journalists who are never suspicious of Democrats, even though they have videos of like obvious criminality. There's a difference, ladies and gentlemen, there's a difference. And this all is going to work out in Trump's favor. He's actually the least authoritarian, alleged authoritarian of all time. It's really funny, tyrants and authoritarians, and they're the ones who take control of government and go after their political rivals. Trump doesn't do that. He's never done that. The people like James Comey or Strzok or McCabe, they engaged in criminal behavior. Like Strzok said, "We'll stop Trump" in a text message. If he said "we will stop Clinton," I mean, could you imagine media? Could you imagine the DOJ under Garland? Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Give me your thoughts.